All right, so I'm really excited for this opportunity. As you guys know, I've spoken to members and colleagues, but this is you're groundbreaking. You're a pioneer. You're something that is just altogether. I don't think I understand the gravity of this situation. So I'm pleased and honored to talk to you, Kathrine Switzer. Kathrine, give us your little insy bincy history on why you've made such a mark in what's, I don't know, 1967.
I know nobody was born. Anybody listening wasn't born. Wasn't born then. So it seems like ancient history. I know. Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here,
Pleasure.
and thank you for everything you're doing for increasing people's health and all the things you're doing in terms of your publications for pushing the health message, especially, of course, my beloved Runner's World.
Love
Um,
them.
I was around when Runner's World was founded by Joe Henderson, when it was uh, a, a piece of paper folded over, and we got it in the mail, and we lived for this. We lived for this because we were finally the the international running community was coming together and talking to each other, and it's expanded ever since. And now we're into the next phase of a virtual world, and it's all very interesting and how it's happening.
Sure is.
But the baseline has always been running and the running community and the sense of unity that we have and the diversity and the inclusion of the sport, which is fantastic. But anyway, my history, look, really briefly, I was the first woman to officially register and run the Boston Marathon back in 1967. I was not the first woman to run a marathon. I was not the first woman to run Boston. A woman actually ran the year before, Roberta Gibb, jumped out of the bushes and ran the race. But I was the first woman to register and run. And the reason I registered and ran, um, registered, was because my coach insisted that I do that. He said, Boston is a big deal race. You don't just go up there and jump in.
Yeah.
He said, a lot of people do that. That's not right. You're a member of the Athletic Federation. You're a serious runner. You trained hard for this, and you need to follow the rules. We had to get travel permits. I had to get a medical certificate, et cetera, et cetera. But at any rate, what had happened was, and so I'll come back to that story. So my history was made on the streets of Boston in 67, quite inadvertently, when I had pinned on that bib number, was welcomed by all the guys in the race and thought it was no big deal because the people I ran with were all guys.
Yeah.
And an official attacked me, jumped off the press bus and attacked me a mile and a half or so into the race. And I was blindsided by this, and it happened in front of the press truck.
Oh my
So
God.
the pictures were being taken of this whole incident.
What a picture, by the way. That's iconic.
It really is. And probably I'm more famous for the picture than for the deed, but the deed was important. My boyfriend decked the official, and that makes, see, you're laughing.
So we're there for.
Yeah, but it was terrible at the time.
Yeah.
And I went on to finish. I made the decision, no matter what, I was going to finish the race. And that was the turning point in my life, and really the turning point in women's running history, because I was so determined to finish the race that's what set everybody back. It was the eve of the women's liberation movement, and everybody was saying, women are always barging into places where they're not welcome and they can't do it. And I knew I could do it. I'd run 31 miles 2 weeks before in practice. So
I read that. Amazing.
So
an extra for good luck.
yeah, an extra for good luck. Well, it came in handy because when you have self-doubt, you know that you've done it, then you can throw that doubt away. But anyway, it changed my life because I was determined then to become a better athlete and also to create opportunities for women. So I know what we're going to be talking about today is what's happened since that moment, but it's been nothing short of a social revolution. And both men and women will agree on that there are more women participating in running in the United States than men now, 58%. That's happening globally too, that women are actually winning ultra races. But the bigger thing is that we proved that we deserved to be there and could do the job. And that's what helped open the doors for getting women official in the marathon, getting the women's marathon in the Olympic Games, which became my driving goal, and was instrumental with making Title IX happen. So all of these things have changed our society in a massive way. And a lot of it actually was sparked by this really weird incident on the Boston Marathon course. So that's,
I mean, it's great though that, I mean, first off, you had the guts, just put it basically to do it, but you also had a support staff. You had people around you that were saying, yeah, you're not crazy for thinking that this is the next step, and that always helps.
absolutely. A team really, really helps. Interestingly enough, I had thought that I was going to be pretty much alone with this, but I had done my training at Syracuse University. And I'm just going to interrupt 1 second because I have a wonderful husband who's bringing me a cup of coffee. Thank you, darling.
Oh, by the way,
Sorry.
just so everyone knows, it's Thursday where I am right now, and it's Friday right now where you are. Where are you?
I am in New Zealand.
Okay.
And I'm very, very privileged to be here. My husband and I have always lived here for 3 or 4 or 5 months a year, usually in the wintertime when it's winter in
Smart.
America. And then we got locked down here with COVID, and we made a quick decision when we saw the Boston Marathon get canceled, which is a place I've been every year for 50 years.
Oh.
And I said, if Boston's going down, everything's going down. And it did.
Yeah.
And we stayed locked down here, and we're very fortunate because New Zealand is COVID free.
That's
We
amazing.
have an incredible prime minister who's very strong and beloved leader. And the whole country pulled together, and our borders are still sealed, and we're in a safer place. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here, and we're going into summer.
Oh, and it's Friday where you are.
It's Friday.
So you know, the 1967, the Boston Marathon was literally just the tip of the iceberg, and you've done
Right.
a ton of things since then. The countless things, right? Boston 8 times. You've improved that first race.
Nine.
Oh, was it 9?
Nine
I have
times.
to
Yeah.
correct my notes. I
Mhm.
think one thing I read, and again, these are just outstanding stats. What I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, at a certain time, you were the 3rd fastest American woman and the 6th fastest woman in the world.
There weren't a lot of other women running,
But,
but I did have a good time.
but
I
you,
did.
you had a great time, and every every beginning needs a pioneer, and clearly you're one. And you were an athlete as well. So you went from kind of a dynamic way of being active to, not that running is static, but you really transitioned from a dynamic athlete to running, which is a little bit different, clearly.
Yeah. Okay. So my history is real quickly, there's lots of lessons to be learned from this. And I hope everybody pays attention to this one part, is that I started running when I was 12 because my dad encouraged me to make the field hockey team, a new sport in my high school outside of Washington, D.C. I'd wanted to be a cheerleader like everybody did in those days, because that's all there really was.
Oh,
And he
geez.
said, you don't want to cheer for other people. You want people to cheer for you. That life is to participate, not to spectate.
I
And he was
love that.
and so I just say that at every speech, I'm harping on it all the time, because if you tell a kid and give them the opportunity, it'll change their life. And I made the field hockey team, and I played basketball, and I played lacrosse, and I played all these sports. But it was the run every day, the solitary run, that gave me the victory under my belt that nobody could take away from me. It was that
Yeah.
sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, I mean, a lot of you guys are gym bunnies and pumping iron and stuff, but you know, when you get into the zone, it really changes your whole mind, and that you really feel limitless and fearless.
Yeah.
And that is a great way to raise a kid. So, you know, those of you who are planning on kids or have kids, pass it on.
Yeah.
Empowerment is, you can never give a kid too much of it, and create that opportunity for them. That's important.
Agreed. It's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
So we know
so
you.
then I went to, well, I was just here when I was transitioning, went to Syracuse University to study journalism, because I knew I wasn't going to have sports when I to participate in after high school. And I thought, well, that's the way it is. But I thought, well, I'll write about it. And I thought, if I can be close to the thing I love by writing about it, I can always just run by myself.
Yeah.
But I asked the coach if I could come and run on the men's track team anyway. And he said, no, it's against NCAA rules. But if you want to come and work out with the team, we'd welcome you. He thought I'd never show up. And I did show up. And there I met a volunteer coach who was an ex-marathoner. He was 50 and I was 19. And he felt really sorry for me because I was so slow. And we started running together every day. And, you know, a buddy buddy goes a long way.
Sure does.
He was a friend, but he wasn't like a boyfriend. He wasn't a father figure. He wasn't he wasn't really a coach. He was my buddy.
Right.
And we were as different as chalk and cheese. I mean, I was a university student. He was a mailman. And
That's
I
awesome.
learned more from that guy than all those degrees I ever got, I'll tell
Oh,
you. Amazing.
that's a gem of a story. I
That is.
think there's a saying somewhere: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go with a buddy,
Yeah.
or a team or whatever it is.
Plus, you'll never need a psychiatrist, you know.
Oh, Catherine, I
You hit
can't
the
tell you
base.
how many things I've solved emotionally in my own head from just getting that run in,
Yeah.
whether it's just to clear it or to arrive at that aha moment. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. And as journalists, and almost everybody out there listening has something to do with journalism, right? When you get stuck, you can't get the lead. You've got the story, but you can't get the lead. And if
Mhm.
you go out for a run, even 10 minutes, man, the lead pops into your head. And if you're really lucky, you run long enough, you get the closer, which is really
Oh.
sweet. Now, I'll tell you, when I wrote my third book, Marathon Woman, my autobiography, I tell you, I couldn't dredge up the memory. And then when I go run, it would all come back because you get these visions from your childhood and everything else when you run. So
Yeah,
it all comes back.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's a gift. It's a great gift.
So, and you gave us the gift of this 1967 moment, but again, you didn't stop. You went for years, continuing and reaching accolades and milestones to the point where 2017 happened, and there you are in
Yeah,
Boston again,
yeah,
50
yeah.
years
But
later. Oh, go
one
ahead.
of the things, first of all, I was really driven from that moment. You could also say I was really pissed off because Jacques Semple, who attacked me, and I were at daggers drawn for 5 years. I had forgiven him, but he didn't forgive me, and
Oh,
we had to fight to get included in the Boston Marathon. It took 5 years, but then I began to work on the drive to get the women's marathon in the Olympic Games. So this is the thing I'm probably most proud of outside of creating 261 Fearless, my nonprofit. I wrote a proposal because I had a journalism degree. I wrote
sure.
lots of proposals on how to get sponsorship, try to get sponsorship for my clubs and these events I was organizing, because I knew if I could create the opportunities that's the way women would show up. And I had this dream proposal of creating a global series of women's only races. And I went to Avon Cosmetics as an experiment because I knew they were a big global company and a non-traditional sponsor. I mean, we're like a shoe company. And they loved how I wrote. And they said, we'll probably never do anything with running, but we'd love you to work for us. And I begged them to do just one race. And this whole race was so successful that we launched a series, which eventually was in 27 countries, 400 races, over 1 million women. And we closed streets in cities that had never been closed before, most particularly London in 1980 for a women's global marathon where we had 27 countries, 5 continents, exceeded the Olympic requirement for inclusion and got the marathon voted in 1981 for the 84 games based on the stats from that program.
So then
So
that race in
that was
1980 was another turning point.
it was a huge turning point. And actually that race went on to become what is now the London Marathon. So we were the canary in the coal mine for that, and
Wow.
made it happen. So that there was interesting history, very interesting history.
I did some digging and to understand more. I didn't find that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't know I did.
Yeah, it's really great.
Very
And I
cool.
went back there finally ran the London Marathon myself in 2018 on the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in the UK.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
it was astonishing. Yeah, it was
Also,
very
1984 was, I think, in Los Angeles, was it not? The Olympics?
absolutely. And you could forget, but I couldn't forget the image of Joan Benoit, now Joan Benoit Samuelson, coming in and winning the first women's Olympic marathon and having that crowd just explode. It was
Right, right.
amazing.
Oh,
And to me, the moment was as important as giving women the right to vote
I just
because
got chills.
it was because it was watched on TV by 2.2 billion people.
Yeah.
So all around the world, people knew women could run, and that was huge. Yeah.
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 Oh,
So anyway, now let's carry on.
okay.
After that, I was inspired then after that by thinking, okay, now we've created women's equality, right, in sports. But you haven't.
But
it's like
no,
being an
it
athlete.
was just the start.
No,
Not
it was just
even,
a start. Yeah.
right?
And you as an athlete, when you run a 3:15 marathon, let's say, and you say, geez, I'm really going to go for 3 hours, and then you break 3 hours and you say, wow, I'm great. And then you look around, you look at like Elliot Kipchoge and you say, I don't think I'm great. So you've got a lot more work to do.
But that's what makes
And
it great, though, right?
it
It's
is.
like endless
It is.
search for just improving because it's never
Yeah.
going to be perfect.
Yeah. So an interesting thing happened, which is that Jock tried to pull off. The story is he attacked me, and tried to pull off my bib number
Is that
because
is that it?
that's it. Well, it's
Oh,
it's a
okay,
fake.
okay.
It's a good
Either
fake though.
we'll
But
play around.
he got the corner and he ripped off this corner.
Okay.
Okay, so it was flapping in the race. All right, but I kept the bibs. Okay, but I didn't think anything more about it for 40 years, 45 years. There were three numbers. They're digits, right? Then when about 2005, around in there, 6 or 7, suddenly 261 became this number, like magic number, meaning fearless in the face of adversity. People were sending me pictures of them wearing the 261. Then they started sending me pictures of their tattoos with 261.
What?
That's what I got the creeps, I'll tell you. Really. and I said, what does it mean? What does it mean? What is it? Because I don't pay attention to a lot of synchronicity and hocus pocus. I should, but I don't.
Sure.
And what it meant was they too had been told at one time or the other that they didn't count, that they weren't good enough, that they were the wrong race or religion, or they're too fat and they're not cute and they don't belong, and all the things we heard all of our lives.
Sure.
And they said, she heard that. She was wearing 261. I'm going to wear 261 because it makes me feel fearless.
Yeah.
So we harnessed it and we created 261 Fearless.
Love that. Oh, and you have the little edge there missing as well.
We do that because that tells the story.
Right. It
That
really
tells
does.
the story. And now we've got this program going, basically using running as an empowering vehicle for women, to empower them and also educate them and give them educational tools with a series of running groups and clubs around the world. I know we're only 4 years old and we're already in 12 countries. So I'm really excited.
If I'm trying to find one of your groups, how do I do that? Because now I'm all in.
Okay, 261fearless.org.
Okay.
And you go to 261fearless.org and you can go to programs and countries.
Sure.
And you touch on the country and you can find out who the contact is there. But I am so sorry, it's for women only.
No. I mean, I have women friends. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, just the fact that the mission is what it is. I mean, it's impossible to not get behind it, right? I've got two nieces. I grew up with just me and my brother. There's no girls in the house at all. And then I've got two nieces now, and little by little, he's been doing some running with them on the track because it's so funny. It's just dawned on me because he wants them to play soccer. And
sure. Who cares?
And to be better at soccer, you need to be able to run around the field a little bit. And little by little, I see them gaining more confidence. So there's so much in this story that it's mind bending. I love it. I really do.
Yeah. So we created 261 Fearless. And then I realized that I was in pretty good shape. I had, I stayed running, but not seriously doing a marathon for my whole life. And that, by golly, if I trained up, I could get ready for the Boston Marathon again in 2017, 50th anniversary, my 70th birthday, hey, cool, let's do it. And once I got into it, I said, what have I done myself? But the human body is so amazing.
It is.
I got back up to doing 4, even 5-hour runs, really doing serious runs up here in the hills in New Zealand, really tough stuff. Be ready for it. I always overtrained for the distance, so I always had the confidence going to the starting line. And then I put it out there, and I usually never talk about things I'm going to do, and I put it out there. And by golly, we had 125 women who wanted to sign up for the charity team.
Yeah.
And they ran for us, and that effectively launched the charity money from them. We were all together all weekend, and that launched us globally, the nonprofit. And the publicity was massive. I mean, we were trending on Twitter.
Really?
Whatever that means. Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I've been getting emails from people like Dan Rather. And
No
it's just,
way.
no, it was huge,
Well,
huge.
again, this is huge. Like
Mhm.
you should be getting reached by Dan Rather. It should be in the news. These are the
Yeah.
stories I think we're
Yeah.
not getting enough of. Let's be honest, right?
Oh, well, I get a lot of ink. I got to tell you, I really do. Sometimes I feel it's a little undeserved. I work really, really hard, but I'm really glad to get ink, for all the women out there who really still need somebody to take their hand and let them know they're not alone out there, and to
Sure,
take the first step.
sure.
That's the toughest stuff. Women we're working with in Syrian refugee camps in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah,
They're really tough places,
sure.
and we have, we're trying to make a better outreach in America
Yeah.
into, our different, both Black and Indigenous communities. So, those are big challenges, but we're young, we're trying,
Yeah,
we're going.
of
Yeah,
course, of course.
yeah.
How do you compare that run in 2017 to 1967? Because
That
there's,
was the amazing thing.
right, like,
I-
how did you
ah,
feel? Like, first off, you look amazing for
oh, you're
70,
thank you.
uh,
Agree.
70, 73. Unbelievable.
2 more years, I'm in a new age group. Yay.
Like, and if that isn't proof positive of healthy, clean living, I don't know what is, right? So,
Well, I wouldn't say it's so clean.
well, running,
Yeah,
the
running.
running gets you everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
Yeah. How was training for that race? You obviously mentioned, you almost overtrained, but compare the two if you could.
Sure. I mean, it was different as chalk and cheese because,
Okay.
in 67, the weather conditions were the worst in the history of the Boston Marathon, up to 2018. So it was freezing,
Oh,
headwind and
really?
sleet and snow. Yeah, that's what people were saying. Oh my God, you were wearing that big old gray sweatsuit. And I said, we were frozen. I mean, we were wearing everything we owned. Um, and it played into my hands because probably the officials didn't notice I was a girl until
Right.
we were out on the course. But at any rate, first of all the men were always welcoming. We got to hand it to you guys. They were fantastic. I wish
Oh,
my wife would run. I wish my girlfriend would run. They were really wonderful to me.
yeah.
Okay, but the spectators, not so much. And certainly the officials.
Yeah.
I remember a guy running out of the course when we were going by in Framingham or something, screaming at me, "You should be home in the kitchen making dinner for your husband." And I just burst out laughing,
I love
What?
that. I love that response. I love that. The laugh.
Yeah,
There's no way to
amazing.
combat
It
that,
was
right?
absolutely, absolutely. But then, and being greeted, then of course the press truck was very aggressive and mean to me. When are you going to quit? When are you going to quit? They really wanted me to quit. I couldn't believe I was serious. And then at the finish line, also really aggressive journalists. Only two were considerate to me.
Yeah.
The rest were very, very aggressive. I was disqualified from the race. I was expelled from the Athletic Federation for running more than a mile and a half, for running with men, for fraudulently entering the race, and
Oh,
for running without a chaperone.
ooh, you renegade. Oh, running
Ooh,
with a chaperone. What are you,
okay.
12?
So 2017, surrounded by 125 of my own teammates and 13,500 women wearing a bib, half of the race. We'd reached effective, is 49% women. So we'd effectively reached 50 years later.
Yeah.
And thousands of people out on the course holding up signs saying, 261, go for it, women's lib, we're with you, Kathrine. It was just awesome.
That is
I
awesome.
hugged every kid on the course. I stopped 13 times. I did 8 interviews, talked to everybody. And my time was only 24 minutes slower than when I ran in 1967.
Get
Isn't that
out of here. Are
amazing?
you
Yeah,
serious?
I know. I think I said, Jesus, if I didn't stop, if I didn't do those interviews on the way, if I just kept bowling along,
You'd beat
I
it.
probably could have run faster
Yeah.
than I did. But hey, it wasn't about time.
Right. It was
And
like,
and I was so grateful for my health. I've got to
yeah.
tell you. I mean, I've seen it happen. An Olympic athlete right before the start of a race, trips over a curb, falls down, pulls to something at the last
Right.
minute. All of those things could have happened to me, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And
A
it all came
marathon,
together.
a marathon isn't about the race itself. It
Yeah,
really is all the work that you put into it. And that
yeah,
race to me is a culmination. It's almost a celebration. I've done only 2 in my life, so I could barely, polish your shoes. But both times the race itself was a release. It was like, oh, okay, here it is,
Finally, yes.
right? Because there's
Yeah.
nothing more lonely than those 20 mile runs, when you're just training. So
Oh, yeah, but they're
head clearing
enlightening. They're
on,
enlightening.
yes, yes.
I remember, I was in New Zealand, and we have a 30K course here over a mountain range right behind us, and it's called around Macro. You start in Wellington, you go all around this mountain range and over, and it's really tough, very, very tough. It's kind of a rite of passage for any serious runner in the
Yeah,
area, and I had never done it, and I said, I'm going to do that sucker before this race,
of course you
and I
are.
did it, and I came up the hill and to our front door, and I turned around and I went, "You beauty." Yeah. We feel so triumphant when we conquer the environment,
Yeah,
because we also become a part of it. So
yeah. I mean, it's our landscape, and it's what we use.
yeah.
Um, quick runner's question. Obviously, running sneakers have evolved in the 50 plus years you've been running. What are you running today versus that first run?
Well, the first run, I had trained, and in fact, I did that. No, not the 31 miles, but I did all my training in canvas Keds, if you can
Awesome.
imagine. And then my boyfriend at the university, who was a big deal jock, said, "You've got to get decent shoes." I said, "Well, I have no idea how to get decent shoes." And he said, "You got to go to this special store. I'll take you." And we went, and I ordered a pair of Adidas Specials, blue kangaroo skin, and they cost me $26. I had never paid that much money for a pair of shoes in my life. And it took like weeks and weeks for them to arrive. And when they arrived, I was getting close to marathon time.
Hmm.
I put these beauties on, and of course, my toenails were all filled up with blood blisters underneath
Yep,
them.
I hear you.
And I couldn't get these shoes on. So I had to take a razor blade and cut out the toes. I was crying. I
Oh my
spent so much
God,
money
for
on those shoes. I had to
real?
cut out the toes. But anyway, and then I ran in those, and I guess I have to tell you, I'm an Adidas girl, because
Okay.
every major every major event that I participated in, winning New York or having my PR at Boston, were in Adidas shoes. Have I worn other brands? Yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now I'm a professional athlete at age 68. I got an Adidas contract.
There
So
you go.
I
That
love
is
it. Just,
awesome.
I'd like to tell people that it's never too late. All these years of running, and it was my first big athletic contract. So I was really pleased.
That is a very big message too. I mean, because I think I look at my window, there's constantly people running, but it's never too late is massive,
Right.
right? I mean, just especially for something that in theory it might seem insurmountable, but just start small. Start small,
Mhm,
gain that confidence, right? Have a buddy that always helps.
mhm.
Um, so what's next? What's next?
Next, I think what's next is really, and I'm going to come back to Get Small.
Ah,
How did I get the women's marathon into the Olympic Games? Well, I started with creating a club in my neighborhood in Syracuse. You know, I learned,
right,
that's
right,
how I learned,
right, 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 right,
what,
right. Has
how to
to.
organize running, how to learn the rules, how to get sponsorship, that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. And then it just went up to bigger, bigger, bigger. But what's next? Um, well, at 73, I've got to be looking for giving away a lot of stuff to my nonprofit, meaning a, a lot of knowledge,
Yeah.
because these are women, let's say 42, 52, in that range. They're at the top of their game. They're doing an incredible job. They know the technology. We got to take the foundation, but not the foundation. It's a nonprofit. We are essentially a charity. It's a nonprofit, forward, and they've got to lead that, and I've got to be able to back off. And both I want to, because I would love to have a little time to clean a closet, and and also because people have to learn to do it, and they are great. They're better. They'll do it better than I am, and
Oh,
and you have to have faith to do that. I think any Boston corporation realizes that,
yeah.
and so that's the next step, is to take this forward. The long range dream is that every single woman on the planet has an opportunity to go out and be free to put one foot in front of the other. And
Absolutely.
and the reason we chose running is because it's cheap, easy, accessible.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it at any level, and
Yeah.
And when you look at our big races and you look at your club and your group there, you know, is there any activity that is more inclusive, diverse, egalitarian? Um,
It's
it's
checks all the
magic.
boxes. It checks
It
all the
does.
boxes.
Yeah.
Um, we're just about up on this 30-minute marker, and I don't know when Zoom just automatically shuts us off. So I want to make sure you have enough time for any kind of closing kind of mentions, anything that we should pay attention to. Obviously, afterwards, we'll take down all kinds of information. We'll populate all the links and all the things that we should be spreading to our viewers today. But what else? Send us into sunset. What do you got for us, Catherine?
It's going to sound negative, but it's incredibly positive, which
Okay.
is that we're surrounded by social injustice and you think you can't do anything about it. You feel sorry for yourself that you're locked down in COVID. Let me tell you, it, it's as easy as giving a little boy or a little girl an attaboy, attagirl. It's as
Yeah,
easy as just being kind. It's as easy as just saying, I'm not going to walk away from it. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to take responsibility for it. And I
sure.
don't think there's anything greater in the world than having at least made some kind of contribution. And I always think running has given me everything in my life. And it really has. It's given me my religion, my career, my husband, my travel and friends and health.
What a
But it's
gift.
given me myself. It's given me myself. And so maybe other people don't feel that way about running, but the things in the world that should make you feel that way. And I feel then that a moral responsibility is to, anytime you have a gift like that, is to be grateful and to pass it on.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Oh, great.
Um,
Okay.
listen, it was an absolute pleasure. I hope we can actually do this again. Um,
I hope.
and then we could dig in, get some details on all kinds of races you've done, and actually more about the foundation. I think that's really where your legacy is gonna really be
Ultimately be.
timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so
absolutely.
too.
I
I
I
think so
love the
too.
261 fearless thing. I can't wait to look into it. Again, Catherine, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. Happy Friday to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for all of your hard work, your dedication, and your love for just staying positive and for everybody else.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank
And
you,
good luck,
Catherine.
everybody. Take care.
Thanks.